Hi, I'm Effie DCunha. I'm the Public Relations and Communications Manager at IR. When I was offered the role, I was told that communications is a new part of the marketing function, and I was very excited to take up a role and make it my own. And that's primarily why I joined IR. So I'm the Public Relations and Communications Manager at IR. This is a part of the marketing function in general. What I essentially do is I manage internal and external communications of the organization. That would mean any communications going out to employees or anything that we'd like to tell to an external audience. So essentially storytelling, if I have to summarize my role. At IR, no 2 days are similar for me. There are days where I could be reading and researching quite a bit just to understand a lot more about IR and what we do, any new developments at our end. There are days where I could be talking to people and explaining about what we do, maybe making phone calls to journalists, asking them if they would be interested in an interview with our spokesperson. There are days where we are planning and I'm deciding what is it that could be the next story that we'd like to tell. So that's essentially what a day at IR for me is. One of the biggest objectives of my role is to create awareness about the company IR and essentially talk about what we do, all the new products, any developments at our end. I'd hope to kind of bring creativity in telling the stories and finding new ways of telling stories and building the excitement about what we do. In all my roles, I normally take pride in establishing a process or course-correcting a process. I think with me coming on board as the communications manager, I've been able to streamline quite a bit of the communications at IR, have been able to initiate a few new things at IR, and that's what I'm really proud about. I think for me, building relationships, essentially, whether it's at work or off work, is a day-to-day process. It's about, supporting the person that I'm working with. If I need support, I reach out. If the person needs support, I'm helping, keeping communication lines open, and most of all, appreciating someone for what they do and for the value that they add in my role as a professional. And I think that's essentially been how I build relationships at work, and I constantly, aim to get them better. This one's really funny. Day one at work, I set out to all excited, and then I realized that the trains are not working, so I have to drive to work. Well, it was nothing short of a nightmare on the road because the roads were completely blocked, all vehicles out, and it took me 2 hours to get to work. I was completely stressed out, and once I get here, I told my manager to come down to the building gate so that he could lead me into the parking. And I get into the parking. Well, my manager has a funnier story about this because he relates that I essentially followed all signals even inside the parking in terms of putting parking lights on, in terms of putting my right signal on, left signal on. And then I was so stressed out at the end of it, I just couldn't park. And I offered him the key and I'm like, can you park for me? So that's a big story that I have at IR right on day one. Unwinding at work is essentially either going for a long walk or having a conversation with a friend or a loved one. It could be on a walk, it could just be a sit-down conversation, or then spending time with my little girl, either baking or driving her to soccer practices or doing anything fun with her.